What are we doing today? All right, I found the perfect picture for this chapter today. We're going to cause some problems on purpose.
Oh no.
So, yep, if you don't have your own working package, download the demo one and open it up in RStudio. If you do have one, open that up. And we will be working with, let me put this away. Sure, fine. What is going on here? Okay, let's quit that. That one. So we'll be doing package maintenance. Get a little bit bigger. So we're going to use command check to see how do we run a bunch of automatic checks on our package to make sure stuff is not going wrong. But because we've been developing a package very slowly and carefully, and hopefully following instructions every week, your package, there's probably nothing going wrong with it right now. So we're going to make a few things go wrong. We're going to cause problems on purpose and show you what it looks like when you have the really common problems that you have with command check. Because this is one of the most frustrating parts of package development is checking stuff. So how you do your first command check. If you've been following along in this series, we've done a few command checks before. Hey, Xenia. All right, I'll do a quick catch up because it's tiny group today. So I'll pop the chapter in the chat. So any of the code that I cut and paste is going to be in that chapter. But there's very little code to do here. So we're just going to open up our package in RStudio, and you can pop up in here into the build tab and just click check. You can also type DevTools : check, open close brackets into the console, but I almost always do it up here. I'm not quite sure why. Just seems like the right place to do it. It's no different. You will get a bunch of stuff happening. So we'll let it go. This usually takes like 30 seconds for a package that's this big. The more tests you have and the bigger your vignettes are, the longer this is going to take. When it's done, we'll scroll back through and I'll show you what's going on with this. But for the most part, if it's all green ticks, it's good. Things are going good. If you see a bunch of red text, that's a problem that you're going to have to deal with at some point. All right, so ideally, everybody's got this as well. So like 30-something seconds of checking your package, 0 errors, 0 warnings, 0 notes, our command check succeeded. If you could pop a thumbs up or a thumbs down into the chat, or a like, I'm not running it today because that's not what's going on with me. There are only 3 of you, so I can tell this week. Switching our, all right. And we've got, oh, yep, okay. Thumbs up in the participant window, not the chat, that's fine too. All right, so what's going on with all of this? And scroll up here forever, back to the beginning of our check. So the first thing that it's gonna do is update your documentation. Now we could do this also by itself. We've done document before with that command, or DevTools : document function. But just make sure all your documentation is up to date. So that's the Roxygen documentation for your individual functions. Basically just that. And then it writes things that need to be updated. It's going to build a bunch of stuff. Don't worry about this kind of the black text or the gray text is just informative, but doesn't mean that there's a problem. So it's checking stuff. Most of these things never really go wrong unless you're doing something pretty complicated. At this point, it starts to run your tests. So the unit tests that we've created, they're in the test folder, will all get run. Those can be pretty complicated when they go wrong. So we tend to do that workflow sort of outside of the command check, make sure that's sorted first and then do command check. Because you don't want to run the whole command check and then find out that it's a test that's wrong, because I'll show you here in a second. But, and then you get this sort of summary at the end, how long it took and how many errors, warnings, and notes. If you have a serious error, it will usually sort of abort the process, stop and tell you that there's an error. So there might be multiple errors. So you got to fix the error, go back in and run it again. So errors are serious. You need to fix them because they mean your package isn't going to run right for other people. Warnings are, you should probably try to fix it if you can, but it's probably not going to break your package. You're doing something that's a little bit weird. You wouldn't be able to submit it to CRAN and get it past CRAN checks. But if you want to just run it on your own computer, it should be fine. And notes are things that are like pretty optional, although it's a pain to submit something to CRAN that has any notes, so you try to get rid of them all, but sometimes they're false positives. For a while, I constantly got the note that my last name was spelled wrong. It's like, it's not spelled wrong. I just don't care if you think it's spelled wrong. And I would have to write a note to CRAN when I submitted something saying, there is a note on this, but the note is clearly erroneous. I know how to spell my name, but it stopped doing that. Yeah, CRAN does always know better. Yours did not run the tests. Okay. Double check that you actually have tests in your folder and that there's a testthat.r file that runs, that has this line test_check. If that's not there, it won't automatically run the tests. But if it's still not running the tests and you do have that there and you do have some tests and test that, then we can try to debug that later of what's going on there. But actually, the first thing that we are going to do is try to break some of the tests, because that's like one of the most frequent things that goes wrong. So let's create a new test. We're going to pop into the console, another one of our use this functions, use test, and we're going to create one called error. So we're going to create some errors and warnings on purpose to see what happens. What does it look like when that happens? That is going to open up a, our demo here, multiplication works. We'll just change that to error and we'll create an error here. Like 2 times 2 does not equal 5. And let's also copy that and create a warning. So let's do expect false. We're going to do all 1:2 double equals 1:3. All right, so the deal with this one, if you just run this bit, you get a warning. So, well, if you just run 1:2 double equals 1:3, you get true, true, false, and then a warning that the longer object length is not a multiple of the shorter object length. Because if you recycle stuff like 1:2 double equals 1:4, there's 2 items in the first bit and 4 in the second, and those evenly divide into each other, so you don't get a warning and you just get true, true, false, false. But here they don't evenly divide, so you do get a warning. And the all turns that into a single, like, are they all true? And then I'm going to expect that to be false. So this test will pass. We're not failing the test, but when we run that, we'll get a warning. And we're not expecting a warning here. If you have any warnings in your tests, you should do something like check for them with expect. Oh, hold on. It won't autocomplete unless I load the test stat library. Right, so if we ran expect warning, cool, that passes because there is a warning, it's expected. And if we run that, it's going to pass, but we're also going to get a warning. And now that's going to flag something in our command check. So we could run command check again, but don't do that because it takes a long time and it's tedious. Oh, actually, no, let's do it. But let's do it without vignettes. So we're going to instead run this in the console and do DevTools check vignettes equals false. So here we're going to not build our vignettes. So if you've like run command check, you know your vignettes are fine, but other things are failing and you're in that tedious process of running command check over and over again, run it with as few things as you need, as few things as possible. So you can turn off vignette building once you're pretty sure that's not a big deal, or you're trying to fix problems that are definitely not the vignettes. So we'll run that. Should have started running that before I started talking. It's still going to do all this stuff. All right. So, oh, Zany, you had no tests before?
Yeah, I just created one. So
okay.
That
did it create the test directory and the test that directory?
Indeed, yes.
And then you've also got now the test that.r file?
Maybe.
If you don't have that, what you
Where
need
is that?
Use this, use test that, and that will set up that file that you need. All right, so here we've run our command check, but we've got an error here and we've got a warning here. And this is what you're going to get at the end. You're going to see 1 error, 0 warning, 0 notes. So this warnings is about command check warnings, not about test warnings. And then you're going to scroll back and find what's going on. Checking tests. And then you'll see that there's test failures. And then you're going to see a bunch of random stuff that makes no sense. And here's the end of your tests. You had 1 failure, 1 warning, no skips, and 11 passes. Well, I'm not sure how many passes you'll have. And then it will give you a bit of information about the warnings and the failed tests. This is often really hard to parse. So whenever I see that there's problems with the tests, I just pop here and run the test, just DevTools test. Just run the test, not all the other stuff. And you'll get a kind of easier to interpret. So your fails, warnings, skips, passes, these will all be color-coded now. And then you'll see up here, okay, the fail and the warn were both in the error file. And we can look at this. This tells us what file it was in. So test error.r, line 2, column 3. Click on it, takes you straight there. So right there, that's where the problem started. And we can see, okay, we should never have expected those 2 things to be equal. Sometimes, as always with errors in coding, the actual error is a little bit before or a little bit after the line or the character where the function thinks it is, but this will at least give you a good place to start. On this one, so test error, we've got a warning here, longer object length is not a multiple of shorter object length. Click on that and it takes us straight here. So one thing you can do if you, in any of your programming, if you find that something's producing a warning, but it's just a warning, you've looked at it, you've checked it, you know you can ignore it, and the function doesn't give you a way to quiet the warning, you can always just surround it with suppress warnings. So we've got too many parentheses here for any sensible coding, but if we surround that 1:2 is equivalent to 1:3 with suppress warnings, we won't get a warning anymore. If I run that, so you see there's no warning here. So we can get rid of the warnings that way. We can get rid of the errors by making that not an error. And then retest. Test runs faster than command check. So I would kind of recommend that always, before you run command check, unless you have a lot of test, just run the test first, make sure that works. And then you can run your command check, and then you know that failed tests won't fail your command check. It'll be other things that fail your command check. Oh, you get a typo. How do you suppress only specific warnings? This is a whole nother area, but because there's not many of us and there's not a lot to go over, I'm going to talk about it. All right. So how you suppress or deal with specific warnings. We're going to do this one again. That's an easy thing to create a warning. So we can surround anything that generates warnings with like a try catch statement. So basically it means try this code. I'm going to put it in curly brackets just because that always works. So we'll try that, and then our second argument is additional arguments. So let's look this up. So I don't just do my normal like try it until it works. Okay. So how do we catch a warning? Maybe try catch only works for errors.
I can also just Google later.
You know, okay, yeah, we're going down a rabbit hole that I'm not prepared for today. But so if your question is like, how do you can't suppress only specific warnings. All you can do is capture them, read them, and then do something else with them. So try catch is where you're going to start looking. Specifically, that tends to be with, oh no, this should work for warnings as well. It's one of these things. It's just, I can't remember what the argument is. So, oh, let's use the other method of trying to figure out what's going on with things. Error equals, oh, it was with calling handlers. With calling handlers might be where you start looking. Again, let's not go entirely off piece here, because nobody else is going to want to watch the video for this. If I go down the rabbit hole of try catch, but try catch is a really interesting and important thing to learn about when you are writing code that other people are going to use, that they might give it inputs that cause weird esoteric errors, and you want to either catch common errors and just fix them yourself, or give them back more useful error messages. Then the try catch system is good for that. All right, back into what we're doing today of command check. The other thing that we can do here, so let's fix all these errors, or maybe just like comment everything out and test error, get rid of that. Description files are a major source of errors in the command check. So let's open up the description file. All right, now this is something I do all the time. Whenever I manually edit the things that are being imported or things that are being suggested, I forget the comma. So delete one of the commas in suggests or imports. And then we're going to run our command check. Let's run the command check without vignettes again. So DevTools check vignettes equals false. All right, that's going to quit. We didn't even need to do vignettes equals false because it quits pretty much right away. What you're going to get is this exit status 1. You get a bunch of error messagey stuff that kind of doesn't make sense. And scroll up until you see some red text. And here we've got E for error, checking description meta information. There's something malformed going wrong with depends or suggests or imports or enhances. And the offending entries are nidr are marked down. So let's go look, nidar, our markdown, oops, forgot the comma. Best way to avoid that problem is to use use package. So we can like add a new package there. Let's add tidyr. And see how that gives you the comma, does the right indenting for you, sorts all that out for you. But you can go in here and manually edit, and that can cause problems. So pop your comma back in. The other thing that goes wrong all the time is authors here. Like there's just too many parentheses to keep track of. So you'll often have a missing one. If you save that, run your command check. This should fail pretty quick. There we go. Okay. What are we doing with the, just go away there. Okay. So it halts the execution, executed with status 1, but you're going to get all these lines of backtrace. Ignore them. Just try to go up to where you see this sort of red text, line of check marks, then red text. And here it just tells you the author's field is malformed. There's something wrong with your description. And then it will give you what, line 7 unexpected. So it's telling us it's line 7 character 0. It's not. The actual problem's over here. We need another parenthesis. I don't know what, this is all often quite hard to read, but again, make as many errors as you can. And then someday when you're rushing to finish, say, a chapter for a class that's happening at 4 and you've had meetings all day, when you see errors, you won't freak out because you'll have seen them before and you know how to deal with them. There is no use person, hold on. Use this sometimes surprises me. No, there is no use person. Somebody should write one and submit it to use this. You can write your own function for inserting. So what you need to do is read this file, parse the existing authors list, and then insert a new author given arguments. That would be a fun function to write. Right, so malformed authors field, that's a really common one because they're so easy to mess up. All right, oh, and then the weirdest one, so we've got our description here. If you delete this full stop at the end, what you're gonna get is not an error. I'm gonna run this check forever because it's this will just give us a note. It's not a big deal. I don't understand why it's a deal at all, but if you're going to submit it to CRAN, the description needs to be sentences, not sentence fragments. And they're real insistent on that. It's got to end with a full stop. So, so yeah, you'll get a note telling you your description does not have a full stop and you got to go add that in. All right. Not running our tests. There we go. So this is what it looks like. Malformed description field should contain one or more complete sentences, because why not be as pedantic as possible? So that's note you do not need to deal with if you're just putting your package on GitHub or sending it to your colleagues privately or sharing it on your own platform. But if you're to send it to CRAN, fix it. Okay. Unexpected files are another really common reason for the command check to give you notes. So the R build ignore, let's open up our file. I'm going to clean up here a sec. So open up .r build ignore. Can anybody not see their dot files?
I got them.
Yeah, all right. Sometimes people can't see their dot files. I'm trying to remember what's the easiest. Oh, here, yeah. So if you click under more and then show, so don't hide your hidden files. I'm not sure which. I can see them no matter what, but sometimes people can't see them. Then you have to show your hidden files. So .r build ignore, you won't be able to see it like in the Finder, but it is a file that looks like this. It is all of the files and directories that should be ignored when you're building the package. So the rproj file is not part of your package, and your rproj user file, not part of your package. Like readme.rmd is a file that's used to create the readme. So you only include the readme.md file in the package itself and ignore this one. We also don't include the raw data in the package, etc. A lot of these were like, you probably didn't edit this at all. This was created mostly by use this when we did things like set up the data raw folder, it automatically added it to our build ignore. This doc was added when we set up the Roxygen documentation. Meta was added when we set up the package down. And this is why the use this functions are so nice, that they sort out what needs to go in your rbuild ignore, that normally if you were just setting up package down manually, you'd have to go in and figure out which bits of package down here need to be added to the rbuild ignore. So if we take the package down, so this is all regex, regular expressions. The little caret at the start means it needs to start with this, and the $sign at the end means it needs to end with this. So this will only match a folder called package down. It won't match a folder called package down 2. Whereas if you did not put the end character in, this would match any folder that starts with package down, even if there's more stuff at the end. But what we're going to do is just get rid of that. Save this .rbuild ignore. And we're going to run the check again. Sorry, this running the check is really tedious. Because you are also, it's just going to be a note. It's going to go through the whole check again. And the note is going to tell us that there's a non-standard directory found at the top level, and that it's called package down. Oh, there we go. So it's scrolling past, lost my mouse. There we go, non-standard file. So that's gonna, it's got an N here, it means it's gonna be a note. We're gonna continue through all the checks, and then it will tell you at the end, you had one note, it was that. So if you're not like real familiar with regular expressions and how to add in things like this, you can add the package down back in with, as always, use this function, use build ignore, and then you say what file you want to ignore or what folder. So we're going to ignore the package down directory, and then pops it right in there for you. But you can edit this manually as well if you're comfortable with that. Again, because it's regular expressions, a dot is like a character that matches any character. So if you mean a literal full stop, you need to put a backslash before it to escape it. That's why these look kind of weird. That backslash is just escaping it, means literally a full stop, not the figurative meaning of full stop in regular expressions, which is match any character. All right, another thing is function documentation. If your function documentation doesn't match your function, you will get an error in command check, and you won't get an error when you just create the documentation. So next thing we do, we close down .rbuild ignore. You go into the R directory, so like APA pair here, and see how we've got this Roxygen documentation, and we're documenting the arguments here, X, Y, DV, level 1, level 2. If we change it to a Z and save it. Now we go into the build tab and we just build the documentation. It will just do it. It's not checking to see, does that make any sense? But if you run our DevTools check again for the 100th time, there's probably ways to get rid of more of this stuff. But if you knew exactly which parts were broken, you probably wouldn't need command check. So it's usually good to kind of run the whole thing. All right, here we are. We got the errors there. I'll make this a bit wider. So, okay, it's finished. You're gonna get one warning because this isn't gonna break your package, it's gonna make your documentation weird. It's found a warning, and then we'll scroll up. The warning is checking RD usage sections. So this is the RD usage sections are the documentation that's created from your oxygen documentation, because there's other ways you could do that. You could actually write, I'll show you where it is here. In the main demo package, inside of doc, is it inside of doc? Maybe not. Man. Inside of man, we have apa-tpair.rd. So it'll tell you this document has been read-only. You're not supposed to generate by hand because we're creating it with the Roxygen format. But you could create RD documents by hand if you wanted to. And you could just type all of this \name, apa-tpair, \title, that, etc. So that's why the error shows up. The error is in here, but we created this file using our Roxygen documentation, and that's inside of the R file for the function. Okay, so just explain why this checking RD usage, it won't point you at the Roxygen documentation because that's not what it's checking. But there's an undocumented argument. We've never documented X, and there is a documented argument that's not. So there's an entry for Z. There's no Z argument. There is an X argument. There's no entry for X. So, and then it gives you some like totally useful, like go check the manual. But so mainly the thing here is you figure out what function is the documentation messed up for, and then you go figure out where have you defined that function. Oops. Where is no, demo package? There we go. So you define your functions inside of the R directory. And this is why I like to name the files after, like just put one function per file, or maybe also it's helper functions. So it's easier to find them. Once you've got 50 functions here, if you've given your files esoteric names that don't match the functions, you can, but you're going to find it hard to go back and find them now. So then we can just go look at this and say, oh yeah, no, messed up. This should be an X, not a Z. All right, so function documentation is, yeah, one that the actual messages, you have to do a little bit of sleuthing to figure out what's happened there. And I think the last thing here is large files. So there is some code. I'll pop the code into the chat if you want, or you can find your own file that's 5 megabytes or bigger. What am I doing here? Oh, here. Just pop that into the console. This is going to download a GIF from the internet that's 5 megabytes, 5.1 megabytes. It's going to pop it into one of the directories, the inst directory. So this is a directory where we can park things, files that we want to be available to our package. So figures that might go into the README, the citation, but also if you're creating something like a package that needs an R Markdown template that has a custom R Markdown template, all the files related to that will go inside the inst directory. So you can kind of put stuff in there, and this will be included in your package. So when you run the check, everything will be fine, and you're going to get a note at the end that tells you that the installed size is bigger than 5 megabytes. You don't need to worry about this at all. This is one of those notes you can totally ignore unless you're going to submit to CRAN, and they've got a 5 megabyte limit, which is ridiculous. And And the way that people deal with this 5 megabyte limit is by having non-CRAN packages contain the big files that they need. So like I wrote a package for interfacing with WebMorph. It's called WebMorph R. And like it takes faces that are delineated and averages them, or like helps you to create reproducible stimuli. Oh, here we are. It's done. This is what the note looks like. So it'll just say note installed size is too big. Oh, it doesn't even tell you what too big is, but too big is greater than 5 megabytes. And again, you can just totally ignore that. You may also delete this GIF, or you can look at it if you want to. It's a morphing face made with WebMorph R. But anyways, I wanted to put demo images into it so that people could see how it works with face images that have already been delineated. And they wouldn't let me. They said it was too big. So there's like an extra stimulus package that's on my GitHub that I tell people to go, that they have to install that package to be able to access the demo images. And like our Natural Earth Hires is all the mapping programs use this kind of workaround. They put their big images on some other repository that's not CRAN, and then you have to install packages from there in order to get the big files that to work with another package. And the packages on CRAN are just the bare bones. They don't have all the demo stuff in them. Right, so yeah, you can get rid of that now. And that is basically it. Those are the main things that you might see errors, warnings, or notes about, and which ones you can, like how to fix them or which ones to ignore. But like every day is a new day, and if you see more errors, like always, Google the error message. Somebody else has probably had it. But also are further resources in the book. So the R command check chapter from Wickham, and I think Jenny Bryan's working on the revision for this book as well, is really good. Like that up here. So it goes through things in a little bit more detail. And it's the sort of detail that I didn't understand the first time I read it, and it just sort of went over my head. So I think maybe working with package development, seeing a few errors, having dealt with command check a few times, after you do that, then reading through all of this makes a bit more sense. But it's more information here. It will also refer to some things like S3 generic methods consistency that you probably won't know much about yet. Yeah, but apart from that, does anybody got questions?
No questions, but I made an important discovery.
What's that?
Persons in the description file don't have to be in a vector. You can just leave them one on the another.
Hold on. What in the
I feel like it's very important.
So on what in the description file doesn't need to be a vector?
So if you have two persons or more, they don't need to be in a vector. You can just,
okay, they can just be that, and then do you need a comma between them?
no comma.
Okay, no comma. That's weird. Okay, so I could just do that.
So it's just a list, a YAML list.
Oh, okay.
I guess that's my guess. I don't know.
So does it need to start with person? What's the format of this?
No, this is fine. I just discovered it. I wanted to cause an error by doing that, and it was fine. And it just works.
Okay. I'm gonna do my load all of it. Oh no, I've got a citation in here. Dude, nothing bad has happened.
Package description will also give you the authors, I think. The function package description.
Package description?
Yeah.
And then
I just Googled it to check if both authors are in the list.
See, package description. Okay, that's just told me literally what's in the package description file with slightly different formatting. What I want to do.
Okay, that's useless, sorry.
No, that's fine. What I want to do is get rid of the citation file that's inside of inst. We're going to move you away. We move you on the desktop. There we go. Get rid of citation files. So if I load that citation, not that I don't believe you, but I'd like to check these things.
Oh, I haven't checked it, so yeah.
Ah, nope, the author is DZ. That's it. So it's
Oh,
me.
it's ignored this one.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
think
sorry. False
have-
discovery.
so. You do need that, comma, that, save this, reload, and yeah, now we get 2 authors. So it's not going to give you a formatting error, I guess, then, but it isn't going to actually include 2 people.
Too bad.
There's got to be a YAML way to do this. I don't normally like YAML, but all these parentheses are so confusing. But I will look into that because I do have one package that what is it? It's ads. The citation for ads. Citation file, we've done this like that. Yeah, actually, let's try that. Literally just change. Probably that needs to be this way. Okay. No. Okay, it doesn't like that. It's not going to like this either. Yeah, no, that's okay. It didn't like that, but the citation file can look like that. So I might update the bit where I talk about the citation file to set out the authors in this way, because this looks a little bit cleaner than the way I was doing it before. But let's get rid of all of this and go back to the weird way. Okay. I'm gonna turn off the share or the what's it called, the recording now. Before I turn off the recording, I'm just going to say there is no class next week because UCU is on strike here.
Did you say you're on strike?
Yep, we're going to be on strike next week. We're on strike tomorrow and Friday and next Wednesday. Then we're back the week after for the last session of this. So I'm going to stop recording.